Norway, country of northern Europe that occupies the western half of the Scandinavian peninsula. Nearly half of the inhabitants of the country live in the far south, in the region around Oslo, the capital. About 2/3 of Norway is mountainous, and off its much indented coastline lie, carved by deep glacial fjords, some 50,000 islands. Indo-European peoples settled Norway's coast in antiquity, establishing a permanent settlement near the present capital of Oslo some 6,000 years ago. The interior was more sparsely settled, owing to extremes of climate and difficult terrain, and even today the country's population is concentrated in coastal cities such as Bergen and Trondheim. With the Barents Sea to the north, the Norwegian Sea and the North Sea to the west, and Skagerrak to the south, Norway has land borders only to the east, with Sweden, Finland, and Russia. Norway occupies part of northern Europe's Fennoscandian Shield, the extremely hard bedrock, which consists mostly of granite and other heat and pressure-formed materials, ranges from 1 to 2 billion years in age. Glaciation and other forces wore down the surface and created thick sandstone, conglomerate, and limestone deposits known as sparagmite. Numerous extensive areas called peneplains, whose relief has been largely eroded away, also were formed. Remains of these include the Hardanger Plateau, 3,000 feet above sea level, Europe's largest mountain plateau, covering about 4,600 square miles in southern Norway, and the Finnmark Plateau, occupying most of Finnmark, the northernmost and largest county of Norway. Although it occupies almost the same degrees of latitude as Alaska, Norway owes its warmer climate to the Norwegian Current, which carries 4 to 5 million tons of tropical water per second into the surrounding seas. This current usually keeps the fjords from freezing, even in the Arctic Finnmark region. Even more important are the southerly air currents brought in above these warm waters, especially during the winter. Norway has about 2,000 species of plants, but only during the winter. Norway has about 2,000 species of plants, but only a few, mainly mountain plants, are endemic to Norway. Thick forests of spruce and pine predominate in the broad glacial valleys up to 2,800 feet above sea level in eastern Norway and 2,300 feet in the Trondheim region. Even in the thickest spruce woods, the ground is carpeted with leafy mosses and heather, and a rich variety of deciduous trees, notably birch, ash, rowan, and aspen, grow on even the steepest hillsides. The birch zone extends from 3,000 to 3,900 feet above sea level, above which there is a willow belt that includes dwarf birch. Most of the rivers and lakes have a variety of fish, notably trout and salmon. The latter are found in at least 160 rivers, often in an abundance that attracts anglers from throughout the world. In most parts of Norway, the nucleus of the population is Nordic in heritage and appearance. Between 60 and 70% have blue eyes. An influx of people from southern Europe has been strong in southwestern Norway. Nord-Norge has about 9/10 of the estimated 30,000 to 40,000 Sami, the country's first inhabitants, living in Norway. Only a small number of them still practice traditional reindeer herding on the Finnmark Plateau. The Sami arrived in Norway at least 10,000 years ago, perhaps from Central Asia. Formerly subject to widespread, even official ethnic discrimination, the Sami are now legally recognized as a distinct culture and have been granted some measure of autonomy through the Sami parliament. In the first decades of the 21st century, an increasing number of immigrants from Africa and the Middle East began to transform Norway's largely homogeneous population into a more ethnically diverse one. The Norwegian language belongs to the North Germanic branch of the Germanic language group. Modern Norwegian has many dialects, but all of them, as well as the Swedish and Danish languages, are understood throughout all three of these Scandinavian countries. Until about 1850, there was only one written language, called riksmål, or official language, which was strongly influenced by Danish during the 434-year union of the two countries. Landsmål, or country language, was then created out of the rural dialects. After a long feud, mostly urban-rural in makeup, the forms received equal status under the terms Bokmål and New Norse, respectively. For more than 4/5 of schoolchildren, Bokmål is the main language in local schools, and it is the principal language of commerce and communications. In daily speech, Bokmål is predominant in the area around Oslo and the eastern Norwegian lowland, while New Norse is widely spoken in the mountainous interior and along the west coast. More than 4/5 of all Norwegians belong to the Evangelical Lutheran National Church, the Church of Norway, which is endowed by the government. The largest groups outside this establishment are Pentecostals, Roman Catholics, Lutheran Free Church members, Jehovah's Witnesses, Methodists, and Baptists. As a result of Asian immigration, there also are small groups of Muslims and Buddhists. The Norwegian economy is dependent largely on the fortunes of its important petroleum industry. Thus, it experienced a decline in the late 1980s as oil prices fell, but by the late 1990s it had rebounded strongly, benefiting from increased production and higher prices. In an effort to reduce economic downturns caused by drops in oil prices, the government in 1990 established the Government Petroleum Fund, renamed the Government Pension Fund Global in 2006, into which budget surpluses were deposited for investment overseas. Norway reversed its negative balance of payments, and the growth of its gross national product, GNP, which had slowed during the 1980s, accelerated. By the late 1990s, Norway's per capita GNP was the highest in Scandinavia and among the highest in the world. The Norwegian economy remained robust into the early 21st century, and Norway fared much better than many other industrialized countries during the international financial and economic crisis that began in 2008. Nevertheless, foreign demand for non-petroleum-related Norwegian products weakened during that period, and, though not a participant in the single European currency,